Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to Dr. Monkey, where we laugh together and cry together, but hopefully take something away to treat each other a little better. Here's some interesting stories. One about a kid who tries to hurt OP and threatens him, then goes crying to his mother when he can't hurt OP. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Story 1. So this happened like 9 or 10 years ago when I was 7 or 8. I was a scout back then, and a part of the group, which was, for the most part, filled with friends and people I knew. I was popular because, back then, I was social and easygoing. I was friends with everyone, and everyone was friends with me and everyone else. But as always, there's one exception to this. In all honesty, EK was a gosh darn idiot. He would yell, he would fight, he would make other kids cry. He did what he wanted. Back then I thought he was special ed, and that's why I tried to be friends with him. But nope. Later in life, when we went to the same high school, I learned he was just dumb. Like I said, that kid was an idiot and would always be trying to get into fights with everyone. People were sick of it, and in time, so was I. I don't remember clearly what the idiot did to deserve a shouting from me. He was probably harassing girls or hitting boys. But I freaking flipped out on him. Now, at this time, he didn't take out his knife or begin to cry. Instead, he just stopped shouting and stopped whatever the heck he was doing. For the rest of the day, he would just sit at the back of our cabin and just stare at me, menacingly. So let's skip a week ahead in time. It was the next scout session. Don't know what else to call it. And things were going well. We were doing something time-consuming. So everyone's attention was at the thing they were doing, whatever that was. EK, of course, wasn't doing anything. And instead, he decided it was better to run around the cabin. The scoutmaster tried her best to stop the madness, but that only fueled EK's rampage. While on his rampage, it didn't take long for him to find the door to the log cabin that was next to the main cabin, and when he did, well, crap hit the fan. Hard. I was sitting next to the cabin, and I could hear everything he did, and said there clearly. EK, oh my! He started whispering from the log cabin. EK, hi, OP, come here for a sec. At first I thought, what the heck is he doing now? But I soon became curious. And he wouldn't stop whispering, and I kind of wanted to know what the bugger had found. So like the stupid gosh darn kid I was, I went there. Me, yeah, what is it? EK, I got something to show you. After a bit of searching, I found him in the back of the cabin. Now at this time, I thought he was going to apologize for being an idiot to everyone, and I was quite ecstatic. I knew this would be a story I would milk the crap out of. Something to brag to my friends. I was so intimidating that he apologized to me. Well, I got a story out of it, but not the one I was hoping. Me, what you got there, buddy? His back was turned to me, and I didn't see what he was hiding or doing. After I asked him what he was doing, he turned around. EK, you see this, OP? I couldn't see what he had in his hand, but I saw his twisted grin. Me, I can't see it. Could you bring it closer? EK, sure. And now I saw it. A dull, red-handled knife. EK, do you see it now, OP? Now, at this point, I said something along the lines of, oh crap, what the heck, and booked it out of there, with the idiot laughing maniacally behind me. I ran out of the cabin and into the main cabin and tripped. This diverted the leader's attention, who now noticed that EK was gone, and that I was on the cabin floor panicking. Leader, what's wrong, OP? Where's EK? Me, it's EK. That idiot's got a knife. L, what? Me, he's trying to hurt me. It took a moment for the leader to realize what was happening, but when she did, she ran into the log cabin fuming. My friends came closer and asked me what happened, but before I could answer them, I heard the leader scream at EK. L, what makes you think it's okay to threaten someone with a knife? EK, I wasn't. I was just showing it. L, well, what makes you think you have any right to hold one without a supervisor? You can not only hurt yourself, you could have hurt OP. EK, I swear, L, get out of here. Go outside and wait for your mom to come pick you up. She then came back into the main cabin and told one of the other leaders to look after us. She then went outside with EK and waited for the mother to come pick the little devil up. Now, according to what I heard the leader tell the others after this incident, the mother was freaking furious, a complete and utter EM, who tried to tell the leader that I was probably the aggressor and that I was a gosh darn idiot. At the time I laughed at this with my friends, but had I known she would come for me the next week, I wouldn't have been laughing. Now, a week after the incident, me and my friends were on top of the bridge. You can see in front of the building. We were messing around, doing dumb stuff, playing tag, stuff like that when suddenly, EM shows up. The conversation goes something like this. EM, which one of you is OP? Me, here ma'am. EM, you're the one who bullied my darling? Me, what? I then noticed EK in the back seat bawling his eyes out. Me, oh, you're EK's mom. Yeah, he tried to hurt me with a knife. EM, he would never. She then went on to list some positive things about him, which seemed pretty bullcrap to me and my friends. He's a gentleman, yet he harassed little girls. He's great at school, yet he couldn't be bothered to pay attention for a single second. That, and he was a F and D student in high school. So, he's got more friends than any of you. Yet, he had somehow become an outcast at our scout group. I honestly got bored of her rambling and went back to playing with my friends. Some of them kept shouting at her, others ignored her. One of my friends, a girl I'd known since kindergarten, started straight up roasting this 30-year-old woman. I can't remember what she shouted, but I remember EM's reaction. EM, shut up, you idiot! This ain't none of your business! Now, this didn't stop my friend. In fact, it fueled her rage even more. Knowing what kind of woman her mother was, this didn't surprise me one bit. As time went on, one of the leaders noticed the commotion and came to check on what's going on. EM noticed this and got out of there fast, as the leader asked us what had happened, and we told him. He went and told the main leader, and she was furious. She went and straight up banned EK, a ban which was lifted just 3 years ago in 2016. When EK wanted back into the scout group, my career as a scout had already come to an end in 2011, so it didn't bother me until I started it again in the autumn of 2016 and had to cope with the idiot again. But that's another story for another time, folks. Really? Some kid had a knife in a room alone with you, so you told the scout leader he was trying to hurt you? You really must have hated him if you wanted to screw him over like that. Story 2. So, as you all know, people were freaking out about the Rona. So, they're doing everything they can to get their hands on supplies to last the quarantine. My family decided that we were going to try to go to Costco today to get preparations for a couple of weeks of dinners and some other home essentials like most others are doing. As we're walking around and picking up supplies we need, I started to notice that the store was basically in chaos. People were hoarding items such as toilet paper. Although Costco has limited the amount of rolls a single person can buy at a time, there were a few people bickering back and forth about items, etc. It was kind of funny to see people acting so immature in a time to panic. My family and I took our groceries to the checkout line, as you do, and stood behind some woman and her 2 children. My dad and I started chuckling together about how much of a madhouse a grocery store was, when the woman standing in front of us whipped around and started shouting at us to keep our germs to ourselves. She had a stick up her ear about us being too close to her and her 2 children, and how we were spreading our germs. It was a bit strange, but understandable, I suppose. When the woman in front of us finally got to the checkout counter, she started unpacking a good 10 to 15 packs of toilet paper, as well as her other food and groceries, to be scanned. As I mentioned earlier, Costco had put a limit of 1 pack of toilet paper per person, which meant that this woman would have to put all but 1 pack back where she found them. The cashier mentions this fact to the woman, and she replies by saying, "Well, I'm a single mom, and I need these toilet paper rolls for my family, so we don't have to come back and get one once the virus spreads more." To which the cashier replied, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but being a single mom doesn't have any impact on the limit, so I'm going to have to ask you to please put the excess toilet paper packs back." This woman was not having it. She had the audacity to start yelling at the cashier about how he should be respecting her because she works her tail off to maintain the peace of her family because her cheating, lying husband took all of her money when they divorced. While this was going on, the line was getting very long, and people were getting impatient. So the cashier calmly told her to either pay and take her groceries, not including the toilet paper, or to get out of the line. The woman reluctantly agrees and proceeds to hand the cashier her card. Before the cashier can complete the transaction, the woman asks the cashier if she can have a discount because she's a single mom and can't afford everything she put in her cart. Now, I had been standing in line for a good 20 minutes now, and this really got on my nerves. I don't understand why people are so uncooperative, especially about things like this. Also, while you're at it, do you think you could completely empty the store next time I'm here so I don't have to worry about my 2 precious angels getting sick? #single mom. Story 3. I haven't seen my father since I was 11. I'm now 24 and 38 weeks pregnant, and I've been hiding that info from my abusive, manipulative father. He had no idea, but today he found out and sent me a bunch of messages through Facebook about wanting to meet his grandchild. I only had him unblocked because I was hoping to get enough info out of him to put in jail, or at least take him to court. At first he thought I was just being hush about the whole thing, so his first message was normal. He asked why I didn't tell him, and that he was excited to meet his grandchild. Mind you, he lives very far from me and has no money to be traveling anywhere. So I told him that he wasn't going to meet his grandchild, and that I purposefully kept this info from him. This man had made my life hell while he was around, and even when he left, he gave my mom something like $20 a month for 3 kids and child support. He physically and mentally abused my siblings when we were kids, yet argues that he never did anything and that my mom brainwashed us against him. In terms of emotional abuse, he never paid any attention to us. He never showed up to events he said he would, and when he miraculously got a girlfriend, he started leaving us alone with her on his weekends, just so that he could work. When he was around, we either had to do what he wanted or he was sleeping. Yet, if my mom tried to make plans that happened to fall on his weekend, he would then argue to hell and back about it being his weekend and wanting to spend time with us. Now, in terms of physical abuse, he did a lot of this in the name of punishment for a wrongdoing. If someone wants to physically punish their kids, that's on them. But he took this discipline way too far. If he caught me sucking on my thumb as a child, he would hit me with the buckle part of the belt, or smack me hard enough across the face I'd fall to the floor. I broke a dish once, and he slammed my head against the table. When I broke something else, he picked up a glass shard and hurt me in the leg with it. He would punch my brother so hard in the stomach that it would make him sick. My mom wasn't spared either while they were married. She finally got away when I was 5, but she didn't know about his abuse towards us because he never did it in front of her, and we were too scared to tell her. But he did terrible things to her too. He married his girlfriend when I was 10, and a year later moved out of state with her. Me and my siblings and I tried to warn the poor woman, but she had my father in her ear telling her that my mom was just jealous, and that my siblings and I didn't want him to be married to anybody but our mom. A year or so later, she was back in our state and had divorced him. She contacted us once to see us in person. My mom and I were the only ones that went. After a year, She looked so broken and was so different from the lady I knew. He had started being terrible to her shortly after their move. When he ended up choking her too, she quickly got away from him. She apologized to my mom profusely for not listening to her warnings. So, the same man, when I know for a fact he hasn't changed, thinks he would get to meet and be around my child? As soon as I said he wasn't going to meet his grandchild, he blew up. I started getting messages about how he's going to take me to court for grandparent rights, and that I have no right to keep him from his grandchild, stating that he helped bring me into this world, and that if it wasn't for him, this child wouldn't exist either. I told him if he had the money to take me to court for a case that would be laughed at and thrown out, then I'm going to take him to court for the backlog of child support he owes. That shut him up on that line of argument. So then comes the Bible ranting and telling me I'm going to hell because my donor is not only abusive, but also the type of Bible-thumping Christian who only uses the Bible for their own agenda. So, I blocked him. He's never had my phone number, my email, or even my address. So he now has absolutely no way to reach out to me. Sadly though, my mom lives in the same house she started living in after she left him, and he knows that. So I am a bit worried that if he pulls together the money to get here, then he's going to harass my mom. But she can handle herself now, and would just call the police. I don't know how to end this, but thanks for reading my long heavy story about my EF. Edit. Holy moly! I took a nap because, pregnancy. Only to wake up to a whole lot more likes in just a couple hours. Well, thanks everyone for reading this mess. And because of some comments, I'll tell you a bit more about what's going on. My donor is broke and a coward. While he may be violent and willing to harass women, he's scared of men. Heck, he's even terrified of my tiny 87-year-old grandma, his ex-mother-in-law. She's the reason why he never did anything to Mom after their divorce. Luckily, she's still alive and well, and my mom lives with her to help around the house. I may not like my grandma much all the time, but I trust her to keep my mom safe. It does help that my mom is no longer scared of my donor and will stick up for herself now. As for myself, I'm not sure. Being far away from him, I might be all tough, but if he shows up at my door, I don't know what I'll do. I do know that my husband is 100% willing to shoot him. I also know that my donor will tuck tail and flee if he comes face to face with him, though, because as stated above, he's a coward when it comes to men. It also helps that my husband is taller and has a good 50 to 60 pounds on him. Now onto the legal side. He absolutely does not have the money to try anything there. As for GP rights, as soon as they read that he hasn't even seen me, his own daughter, in 13 years, they'll shut the case. I'm not worried, but I do have documentation. My mom still has all the documentation from her own case when they were going through their divorce. I don't have much for what he did to my siblings and I, but I do have the documentation from a few teachers who met him, along with a statement from a security guard from the school who almost had to toss him out a couple of times. Then there's the statements from the nurses at the school. I might not have told them where the injuries actually came from, but after talking to them years later, I learned that they had their suspicions, especially when they stopped after my father left. So thank you all for the advice I've been given, but I know I'm safe. I've got neighbors who know what to look out for, and I'm never really alone right now. And while I might panic the entire time if he shows up, I like to believe I'd hit him with the gun we have. Make sure wherever you're giving birth that they know your dad is not allowed near you, or your baby. Save every hateful message and use it against him. He thinks he has the power because he still thinks of you as a scared child, but you're an adult who can make him suffer the consequences of his actions. Consequences he should have felt a long time ago. Well guys, that's all for today. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story's about EM, who hurts her child because she wanted him to ride a ride he wasn't allowed to. Tries to press assault charges against OP. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you next time on Dr. Monkey.